Yo, what's going on, homies? It's your boy Stump back for another OPTC video, and in today's video, it's the end game tier list. You end game players after the 9th anniversary. Once the dust has settled, now that we've had Treasure Map, PvP, Super Boss, Pirate King Adventures, Grand Party, all of the fun stuff in the game. Now that we've had all that, we're going to break down all the legends and put them onto a tier list, rating them as end game as possible. Now, if you guys don't know what that actually means, basically, once a month, we get a whole bunch of game modes, like Treasure Map, Kazuna, 10 stars, and then every second month, we get Super Boss, we get Grand Party, you play PvP every single day. So those 4 game modes, well, the PvP, Kazuna, and Treasure Map, those 4 game modes are going to be heavily influenced in the character's position in today's tier list. Now, if you guys want to check out the whole game tier list, I did like an hour-long video. I'll leave a link to that in the description below. If you guys want to go check that out for each particular character. But I'm not breaking down each character again. I'm just going to move from the last time I did this. Last time I did this was around the ASL batch. I do like to do these tier lists around big celebrations, because that's when like meta shifts happen and big changes actually come to the game. But if you agree with anything, let me know in the comment section below. If you disagree, let me know in the comment section below as well. I love disagreeing with people on this sort of stuff. So please, if you have an opinion, let it be known in the comment section. If you disagree with something, go ahead, call me out. However, do it in a respectful way, because remember, this is just my personal opinion. Don't take this as gold and a must-do, but this is just my opinion, playing the game for the last 7 years and using these characters so goddamn heavily and seeing these characters being used. So, like I said, PvP, Grand Party, Treasure Map, Speed, Power, all that sort of stuff, what they do in Treasure Map every single month, as well as Super Boss Kazuna and 10-star events of Kazuna, are going to heavily influence this tier list. They are going to heavily influence the position of the character. As for the rest of the game, we'll talk about that once we look at the tiers, because there is stuff like Grand Voyage, there is stuff like PKA, which honestly might change up some of these characters' positions, and the rest of the game as well, like just like regular content, because we usually had that like point find event, which now will become PKA, and just playing other aspects of the game will still influence where these characters sit. But like I said, Treasure Map, PvP, and Kazuna are going to be the big 3 with how we rank these characters. But with that said, enjoy it, like the video, hit the subscribe button, do all that good stuff, and let's dive in. As always, shout out to the OPTC database for the images provided and the tier list maker. I'll leave a link in the description below. As always, if you guys want to build your own tier list, send it over to me at Discord. Post it in the Discord, post it in the Stump Cords. Let me know your thoughts and opinions, and I will leave a link to this at the end, and hopefully you guys will be able to see it. But as you can see, this was the top 5 the last time we did this. Now, this is going to change drastically, like super drastically, and I'm looking forward to that. The next tier we have down is meta. Like, these characters have been within the meta because like these characters are so good, and these characters usually work exceptionally well with what we actually have up here. Moving down, we have amazing. All these characters see a lot of play, either as subs or as captains, but I did introduce a new tier called super subs, because some characters up here, like, I only ever use them as subs, and I don't think they're on the same level as some of, like, the captains. So, for instance, Rob and Jinbei, I only ever use them as a sub, ever. Vivi Rebecca, Shiroshi Mancherry, Corazon, you're never using these guys as captains. Like, Chopper if you're looking for, like, cotton candy drops, but, like, you guys get what I mean. Law, Sober Mask, Pudding, Rayleigh, none of these characters you ever use as captains. The only one that I'm going to say and put an asterisk on is this Luffy. Now, for me, I think this Luffy is a super sub, but if you can get out all his utility, I do think that he's an amazing character. He's grown on me quite a lot since his release. I don't think he's as good as Sabo, and we won't even talk about Ace. We'll talk about Ace, I guess, later, but I do think that Sabo's the best, but this particular Luffy has definitely grown on me. Next, we've got Niche. Now, I'm going to bring some characters into this tier, because I think I was pretty harsh on some characters. These characters have the potential to be something, but the content really hasn't given them the place to shine. Next, we've got our Treasure Map Speedsters. These characters you're only ever going to see in Treasure Map. You're pretty much never using them anywhere else. Besides maybe Hiyori, she's obviously a Grand Voyage Master as well as, not Grand Voyage, Grand Party Master, but she could also see some play up here in Amazing. We'll talk about that in a second, because I do think I'm going to move her as well. Next, we've got the PvP Ultra tier. Now, I thought this tier was a little bit clustered. Like, it's a bit of it's looking like a bit of a clusterfuck, if I'm honest. So what I've done is I've made PvP Beta. We're going to bring down some characters that don't really see too much play in the main teams into these categories, so that way we can get a better feel. So like Verse Kaido, for example, he's going to come down into Beta. Big Mom, Izo, Nowadays, like Moria, I think, not Moria, Yorogue. Yorogue's terrible. I think Yorogue's just bad. Magellan, definitely a bad character. Kaido, terrible character. What else we got here? Smoothie, I think Smoothie's definitely just a bench option. Straw Hat Crew, V2, like, sorry, V1, not V2. They're just a beta character. Garp, definitely beta worthy, like, definitely not an alpha. The Capone Pirates, like, who's using the Capone Pirates nowadays? Katakuri, fighter teams are kind of mid, so we're just going to drop you down. Queen, you're not really ever running Queen on your Dex team. Hell, you're not even running Kizaru anymore. Like, even, like, Lucci. These characters, like, Whitebeard, like, what the hell's Whitebeard doing up here for? Even Ace nowadays has dropped off so goddamn drastically. So, that's what I wanted to sort of separate, like, the good PvP characters from, like, the bad PvP, not the bad, but, like, other characters that aren't as good. Now, these characters, you pretty much level up, and you're going to use them in PvP. That's the main place that you use them as an endgame player. There are some exceptions, like, you could possibly see this Odin doing something somewhere. Ace we'll talk about in a second, and same with Kinemon Denjiro. But that's what I mean. We're gonna move some of these characters probably around to niche, because when they do shine, they definitely do shine. And I did want to put them a little bit higher than PvP, because this tier list is ranked on the most important. So like top 5, then your meta is the next important, amazing. Super subs after that. Niche, you could probably argue to me, goes somewhere like here, like that. I'll probably do something like this. And then you've got your speedsters, which are just for treasure map, your PvP, which is just for PvP. And then you got your Grand Voyage monsters. These guys are all basically just using Grand Voyage. You can level them up, they'll get the job done for you, and they're just essential characters. But I do want to add a new Grand Voyage tier for the Masters. Now, these characters are going to be the ones that you definitely want to level up to get your Grand Voyages done. So Brook, fantastic for Logtown, and same with this Boa. They're basically like essential characters for that. This Blackbeard to take down Luffy at Logtown is fantastic. Frankie is amazing in 2 different Grand Voyages. That's what makes him so goddamn valuable. This Mihawk, you have to have this Mihawk as a friend captain, leveled up and limit break expanded. Otherwise, like, the team just doesn't work. As for the rest of these characters, can't be replayed. This Rayleigh is just so goddamn good. This Neko and Inu is just a must-have for local sea monster. This Luffy just absolutely decimates Alvida, as well as like Straw Hat Crew V2. Absolutely fantastic character. Shanks Crew, which we'll touch on Shanks Crew in a second, but I am going to leave this Shanks Crew right here. Absolute god for taking down Grand Voyage at for the local sea monster, especially having 6+. He's just absolutely fantastic. The rest of the characters, though, they're pretty much to be desired. Actually, this Sanji is like a must-have for Barate against Don Krieg, so I'm definitely going to move him up there. And this Big Mom, I think this Big Mom is fantastic across like 2 to 3 different Grand Voyages. This Mihawk as well, absolutely phenomenal unit, and this Law being a slasher booster is boosted in 2 separate Grand Voyages, which makes them so goddamn valuable. So I definitely want us to separate them as well as the PvP. I think some characters are a higher priority to level up than others. And with Grand Voyage starting to get a little bit power crept, obviously with some of the earlier ones, there are some characters that we're going to have to move up as well. So next you've got support. These characters you're only ever using as supports. Basically, that's the bottom line as an endgame player. You've got your stat sticks down the bottom here, and then you've got like your utility supports up here. Take a screenshot of these, max out their supports and stuff like that. But obviously, just max out these characters once you actually get around to needing their supports. Don't just go willy-nilly with your materials, because like they're kind of hard to come across. Next, we got Never Used. Now, these characters, some of these characters I've been really harsh on, like super harsh on. But look, as an endgame player, that's kind of what you have to do. But we do have the new niche tier, and we are going to bring some characters up and move some stuff around, because some characters can see some play. Some characters have some utility. Some characters have the option of being very good. And then down here, we're going to bring, obviously, some of these new characters in. Like, these are old 6+ers. Like these characters here. And these are just dupes. But basically from today, I'm going to move these characters back here so that way we don't get confused. Basically from today, we're going to start at Shanks Crew 6+, and we have a lot of characters to put on the tier list. Like, a lot of characters. But, before we do that, we're going to fill out some of these old tiers. So, I was super harsh on Perispero. Perispero is an amazing character. For 10-star Kazunas, he's an absolute rocker. He destroys like, he just absolutely decimates. Absolutely decimates. Chain Boundary, he's got amazing captain ability. Fantastic character. I was definitely way too harsh on Barrow, and I have used him in 10-star for some big damage teams in Kizuna. Plus, in regular play, like, he could see some options there, but he's, like, just on the cusp. If not, you put him in sort of niche. As for Bullet, I'm going to bring Bullet down into the new tier of Grand Voyage monsters. It's pretty much the only place you're going to use Bullet as an endgame player. You can see some play with him in PvP, but really that's only the best place you're going to see him. Oh, this ulti is also a Grand Voyage monster as well. She's actually a really good sub. She's actually, you know what? I hate ulti so much, and I got to try to not be biased here. So I'm going to move her into super subs. I think she's an absolutely fantastic sub. Taking a look here at Corazon and Law, we're going to put them in niche because they definitely have some potential with the empty orb mechanics. So I don't think they deserve to be so far down. This Jinbei with his damage nulling ability definitely has some potential in the future. I wouldn't prioritize leveling them up, but definitely an option. This what's it called? Page 1 ulti is going to go into super subs. Page 1 ulti is fantastic for a guaranteed conditional boost, especially in Super Boss. And I guess I have to sort of give them credit for that. Because if there's no other options, you definitely can use that. There's always other options nowadays, but that's the thing. Nami has to come up into Grand Voyage monsters. Unfortunately, you need this Nami maxed to get Arlong Park done now, which kind of sucks. And that whole team really has to come up, because if you don't have them maxed out, like Vivi, Rebecca V2, if you don't have them like max, like, you are going to struggle quite heavily. Another character for that list is actually Hiyori. Hiyori is definitely a super sub. She works exceptionally for that team, and with the new Zoro, she definitely needs to be moved up into super subs because she sees a lot of players as sub. Who else have we got here on never use? Sanji Pudding, they completely remove damage reduction effects. They're definitely going to be moved up into super sub. Their switchability is actually really nice for healing capabilities. Plus, I can see them being good somewhere in the future. This Boa is actually quite good in PvP, to be honest. I'm going to put her in PvP beta for Free Spirit teams, because Free Spirit got a rise. I'm going to bring the... Actually, I'm going to drop you guys down here. Hina is going to go into niche. Her orb blocking ability and her stats for either attack, orbs, and base stats is actually very, very nice. She definitely could see some potential there. As for the rest of these characters, I don't think anyone could move besides maybe Koala. Koala could see some play with her healing, but that's kind of about it with what Koala actually provides the team. So that's kind of gonna... Oh, hang on, we're gonna move Kuma up. Kuma got a PvP buff like crazy. Kuma is an absolute ultra beast in PvP with his new buffs. He got a huge buff. Brook is going to move into Amazing with the latest Super Boss Kizuna. We saw how valuable Brook was, and that's thanks to the new Sanji, who we're going to touch on later. But look, Brook's now Amazing. The fact that you can then swap out into Sanji just makes this character so much better, and that's why this tier list exists, because like, Brook was crazy in Super Boss, man. He's absolutely crazy. Obviously, as well, these amazing meta and the top 5 characters, they shine heavily. So heavily in a game mode that puts them up there, or they shine in multiple different game modes. That's the big criteria for them being up there as well. PvP Ultra, I'm going to bring Sugar down into PvP Beta, because she's only good against Strength. You're not really ever using her in that front lineup for Strength. I'm going to bring the... Kinemon Dendro into niche. They've been so good in Super Boss for multiple Super Bosses. And with the release of Zoro, they're definitely getting a much needed increase in what they can do. As for... Where's that stupid Ace character? There he is. I'm going to bring Ace into niche. I know a lot of people like Ace, but I don't. I think he's the worst Anniversary exclusive. And I don't even think it's close either. But he can do stuff. And the stuff that he can do is kind of nice. And I can definitely see him being okay in the future. But... even against his own Super Boss on release, like, he sucked. Like, he was just bad. Anyone else in this tier? Here we go. Odin. Odin needs to come up into niche as well, next to Kinemon Dendro, because he definitely has seen some play in Super Boss. His color affinity is great. He is a super slasher, which is nice. But he mainly works alongside Versi Yamato so nicely with the 95% damage reduction. But it's super niche. Like, it's been power crept, but it's still something you guys can do. I would highly recommend using this guy in PvP, though. Like, leveling him up for PvP is the main reason that he's, like, so heavily used as an endgame player. As for the rest of this stuff, I don't think anything else needs to move or anything else deserves to change. I'm just sort of having a quick squiz. This crocodile is actually quite nice in Grand Voyage options. If you're trying to do level 3 of Arlong Park level 3 is actually still really hard, so that's definitely an option. As for the rest of these characters, yeah, they don't really see too much play. So, let's move down here. Let's go through some of the older characters. So, first of all, we got Shanks Crew. Shanks Crew 6+, did cop a lot of slack early on, but he's basically so good for Grand Voyage. He's designed to take down the local sea monster, and if you have these two characters next to each other, you just win. And then Rayleigh underneath, like, it's curtains. Like, it's absolute curtains, and you don't even have to worry about the rest of the fight. However, what we didn't know was this guy is so good in PvP. The combination of him and Jack on any team is disgusting. Like, the amount of defense and bulk this man gives is so goddamn good. Like, so good. So ridiculously good. On top of that, he's changed the meta for the slasher team. He's built out a chonky slasher team like he was back in the day, which makes him incredibly good. Like, insanely good. So good. And then with the new buffs that are coming to stuff like K-Dad and like Zoro, these characters are just getting absolute mega buffs in the future. We're also going to change up this meta tier, by the way. That's like going to be incoming, so look forward to that. But Shanks Crew is just a beast in PvP, and as an endgame player, that's where you're going to see most of his play. The chain lock holds him back, yes. The base stats and the color affinity is like, it's nice, but like this guy in PvP, if you haven't maxed him out and tried him, like, give him a whirl because he's so goddamn good. The next 6+ we got was Bardo Cavendish, and Bardo Cavendish on paper only boost driven, so they're kind of sucky. Honestly, you're in regular play, you're never going to use this character, like, ever. As an endgame player, you're just never going to use them. However, just like Shanks, in PvP, whereas PvP, they are so goddamn good. Like, they have become part of the new meta slasher team with Odin 6+, Bardo Cavendish, Shanks Crew, Whitebeard and Roger. Like, you just don't die. You don't die. Same with Neko Inu as well on that slasher team. This Neko Inu is so fantastic on the slasher team as well. You can obviously replace Neko Inu with something like Carrot Wonder, or you could use something like this particular Doflamingo. But like, they've become so good. The speedy slasher team is starting to drop off, but I am super keen to see how that goes once K-Day gets their buffs. But if you guys haven't tried that slash team in Grand Voyage, the chonky slash team under Roger goes so goddamn hard. It can help you get so many wins. And it just doesn't die. It just does not die. That and the Free Spirit team this season just did not die. It was crazy, man. It was crazy. Next, we've got Apu. Apu is a PvP legend, and he is designed to absolutely decimate Psy. He's a Psy killer. In regular play, he's a very interesting character, but one I have not even touched. I haven't used him at all. I went to do a showcase on him, but I was in Japan, didn't do it, just did a PvP showcase on him. Because even in PvP, even if you don't verse Psy, he's really, really good. He's just a better version of this Rogue. This Rogue is so bad now because of this Apu that you're never going to actually use him. So, Apu in PvP is just so freaking so goddamn good that I definitely had to put him up here. Kid can move up, actually. Kid's going to come up into amazing. Kid mainly is used in PvP, but like with driven strikers and like that int team, it just hasn't had a place to shine. So that kind of holds it back. But with the new Beast Pirates, like we will talk about that in a second. Also, because of the new Beast Pirates as well, I am going to bring this Kaido up into amazing as well. We'll talk about that in a second. He got a lot of support. Like a lot of support. Actually, we're going to... Yeah, no, we'll leave him here for now, and then we'll talk about these two in a second. But they got so much goddamn support. Yeah, we'll talk about it. Actually, though, for Kid, because of the amount of support, I'm going to bring Kid down. I lied. I'm going to leave Kid here. If you're using this Kid nowadays, it's just in PvP. It's unfortunate, but look, it is what it is. Next, we're going to look at Bonnie, Jewelry Bonnie, before we get into... Oh, hang on, we got these characters here too. Jewelry Bonnie came out as a Treasure Map Legend right before Anniversary, which is a very odd selection. I think they just wanted to round out the Supernovas. She's a pretty niche character. She's probably one of the best super classes in the entire game, giving Chain Boundary. She gives Recovery Orbs, and her color affinity is crazy over 3 times. So you can do some really, really cool stuff with this Psy team, like with these characters here. This Odin's kind of got power crap because of this Bonnie. You can do some really cool stuff with her, and then like this Luffy as well. Hybriding the 2 up for Super Type and Super Class could definitely see some really, really cool play in the future. So that's where this Ace could come back into play as well. But we'll have to wait and see when we get that particular Super Boss, or once we get that type of content for 10-star Kazuna, where those characters can shine in terms of damage output and power. But for now, I'm going to put her in niche because she has potential. We just haven't had the content to show that particular potential. Next, we're going to go down to the batch right before Anniversary, which was Killer, Hawkins, and then Jack kind of slipped his way through as the pre-Anniversary batch. Killer and Hawkins are interesting. On paper, they seem really good. However, like, they're just not. Like, they're just not. I'm going to put them both in niche because they definitely can see some play. And this Killer makes this kid a lot better. Like, a lot better. But the problem is, the Driven Striker team got just so much help with the Beast Pirates that you're never really running them per se. However, Killer in PvP is very, very good. Unfortunately, though, he just doesn't find his way onto the PvP team. So, for me, I'm going to bring Kid down into Killer into PvP beta. You can use these guys in regular play, and they're a fun legend. They're just not one that you're going to run every day of the week. Plus, in Super Boss and 10-star Kazuna, they have just been completely outshone. Like, they've been completely outshone. And for that reason, like, I think they're both PvP characters. I know I've moved Kid like 3 times now, but look, I'm going to move Kid. I'm going to move Kid at the back of Amazing. Because, like, I can see what they're trying to do with these characters. I definitely can. I do think Killer's better than Hawkins too. So I don't want to put him lower on the tier list. But I definitely see what they're trying to do with these, like, what they're trying to do. But then what they did with, like, Verse Kaido and the Beast Pirates, it's just kind of outshone these guys, to be honest. But as for Hawkins, he's interesting. He can remove Fear, one of the only characters to do so, and he removes Special Blind in his Super Type. Plus, these characters have Final Tap as well. Regular Legends with Final Tap. Yeah, I know, 2023. It's crazy out here. So Hawkins is okay, and I can definitely see potential for Hawkins. He was really good in Local Scene Watcher as well, but, like, I think in more areas of the game, he's going to shine once we actually get those areas, you know? So, it is what it is. As for Jackie Boy, Jack was a silent sleeper. A silent sleeper. Because no one expected this character to be good. Like, on release, everyone thought, why? Why is this character a thing? And why is he here? However, he partners up with Verse Kaido so incredibly well. And what we didn't know at the time was we were going to see a bunch more Beast Pirates. Those being King and Queen for Anniversary as regular characters. And with that batch, the King, Queen, Jack, and Kaido batch, the characters made their way into meta. They're going to move their way up here because they were so good in Super Boss. And unfortunately, you needed every piece of the puzzle to make them good. And even with all the pieces of the puzzle, the Free Spirit team pretty much just did the same thing. So, whilst they do fit into the meta, they didn't sort of break the meta per se. Once we're done talking about these Beast Pirates, we're going to change the meta because we're going to do some crazy things with the top three Anniversary Super Sugos, and then we're going to sort of filter this out as well. So Jack, very, very good character. Works with Kaido exceptionally well, and the damage output you can get literally just with these two is nuts, on top of what you can do with King and Queen as well, so that's always fun to see. Before we do touch on... Actually, no, we're going to King and Queen. We're going to King and Queen now. Queen brought back Captain Actions, and Queen's Captain Action is literally just a copy and paste of Sober Masks, which kind of sucked, but it was still refreshing to see that Captain Actions had returned. Captain Actions are one of my favorite things in the entire game. The ability of Snake Man with his level, Tank Man with his gear change mechanic is so much fun. Like, as an endgame player, you're never going to use it, but it's so much fun to play around with. And now that they've brought them back, we'll talk about Zoro later, but now that they brought them back, it opens the door to a whole new version of power creep. with Rush and Super Tandem and like Super Class, Super Type, Captain Swapping. Like, it's just really, really cool to see that they've done this. Not only that, but Queen also brought in a new mechanic where he brought in a buff that can't be removed by yourself or the enemy. A 2.5 times color affinity to Drey and Powerhouse, which cannot be removed, which means if you use Queen and then you use versus Kaido, he doesn't actually remove the color affinity. Now, this makes this character so much better. Like, so much better. The fact that you can now have a color affinity boost before you use his special means that you can use another special after his special. It's so good. It's so good. The downside to Kaido was he wiped away all your buffs from the beginning, and then you were left to play around with 2 specials after that. So you had to try and wheedle some stuff with like Big Mom and like her super type, and now Queen's just your color affinity booster. On top of that, he's a 2.5 times conditional boost, provided you have an attack boost, an orb boost, and a color affinity. However, if you have an attack boost and an orb boost, and then you use Queen, he gives the color affinity, and then the game registers, oh, that's color affinity, so he gives the conditional as well. Versus Kaido has a guaranteed condition of giving extra damage, which is the condition that Queen needs. So you got a 2.5 times conditional boost, a 2.5 times color affinity, and he gives 30% driven and cerebral resistance to the enemy as well, which is just absolutely nutty. It's so goddamn good. Jack is the same. He gives 30% resistance to driven and strikers, which means he and versus Kaido hit disgustingly hard. As a captain as well, Jack is a super class, which makes him exceptionally powerful as one of the captains for this particular team. He gets the 2 times damage increase. His super tandem is a guaranteed conditional booster as well, so you can do some shenanigans there. Jack is your chain boundary unit, but the resistance is so nice because Kaido won't wipe away the resistance that these two actually give, which makes them so viable for that team. The final piece of the puzzle for this Beast Pirate puzzle is King. Now, King is one of the captains for this team, and it's interesting to see that these 2 units here, the Jack and the King, were actually the captains for the particular team that most people that had all of the units would use for Super Boss. Now, King's a super type, and he has the ability to just avoid every single debuff in the game. Besides, like, I think Captain Blowaway is the only thing he can be affected by. But he was Paralysis, Blind, Despair, Special Blind, Special Reverse on himself as a captain. And as a sailor, he does it as well. He gives 2 turns of cooldown, and he removes 7 turns of Special Blind for Driven Powerhouse. He gives you a 2.0 chain boost that cannot be removed by yourself or the enemy, just like Queen. So when you use Kaido, you don't have to worry about removing that chain boost. On top of that, it's the biggest in the game. Like, Nami's can get higher, but it's conditional. This is not. You just use this and you have it. On top of that, his super type gives you the 1.5 times chain multiplicative, and if you have an attack or boost, he's your base stat booster for the Kaido team, and he gives 0.7 every time you hit a perfect. This unit is so much fun, and I do promise there is a showcase coming. I've just been so busy with Super Boss that I haven't gotten around to actually recording it. But I have played with the character, and he's just so much fun. The team is so nice. Unfortunately, I don't have Jack, which kind of sucks. But this particular team is so much fun to use, and in Super Boss, it did creep as the Psy killer. However, the characters that we're going to talk about at the end of this video, they still managed to find a way to do it better, thanks to Zoro and his rainbow damage, and obviously the Rare Recruits having rainbow damage. But moving forward, when we don't have characters that have rainbow damage, look, Zoro is an exception, but when we don't have other characters that can do the rainbow damage like Zoro can, these characters will see some crazy play inside Super Boss. Thing is, we just need those size Super Bosses to actually happen for that to work. Because of these characters as well, this particular... Nope. Where are you? This particular Big Mom got a lot of extra play. Now, I'm going to move her up into Niche, because she was another option if you didn't have another Jack. She can be a conditional booster for the team. She's another base stat booster. She can also increase the attack and orb boost of Kaido. So she's a pretty niche character that you can use on that team. But she's not something that you're going to go for because her like specials are so damn high. Remember, Kaido actually give her the 20 turns of cooldown. So she's at the back end of Niche. I can see what they're trying to do here. But the main crux is having these Beast Pirates all together. Now, before we touch on the big dogs, the Super Sugos and Odin and Toki, we're going to do some changes to the meta tier. This tier is way too clustered nowadays, and there are some characters that have definitely dropped off. I think Odin and Toki, Odin and Toki, the Toki and Kids, they're going to move down into Amazing. They haven't seen as much play as they usually do, and they're going to drop off. As for this Yamato, because of the release of these new Beast Pirates, and you can't run these two on the same team, I'm going to drop her down to Amazing as well. Karen Wanda, they're absolutely exceptional for speed farming, and PvP, but nowadays, like, there's just other speed farming captains, and with the new release of the Legends with the 6 turns of cooldown, they just give so much. Same with CatDog. They're great in Grand Voyage, fantastic Grand Voyage characters, same with Carrot and Wanda, as well as being amazing in stuff like PvP and Treasure Map, same with Carrot and Wanda too. But in the big areas of the game, the big damage output areas of the game, they have sort of lost their way just a little bit. Just a little bit. Just a smidgen. Just a smidgen. As for Lore, I'm going to bring Lore down into Amazing. I don't think Lore is as good as he once was. That's just through natural power creep. It is what it is for poor old Lore, but still a fantastic character in Grand Voyage. Like, a terrific Grand Voyage option, as well as being fantastic Super Tandem. Terrific Super Tandem. As well as being okay in Super Boss. I just don't think he goes on that meta team anymore. As for Usopp and Yasop as well, Usopp and Yasop are going to fall out of the meta tier. They sort of just didn't find a home there on that quick team because of some of the other characters that do give conditionals. They've just been kind of hard replaced by Zoro per se. And if you're using Robin, like, the only other conditional you're just going to bring is Zoro, and you can always run a friend captain there. So unfortunately, they are still an amazing character. Definitely an amazing character, but just not one that is like going to crack this meta tier. As for this Bon Clay, I'm going to bring Bon Clay down into Niche. His abilities are kind of nice, but they're kind of being dropped off. Just like how Ben mentioned, kind of got pushed out by Sabo. That's the reason I've got Sop here. These characters, this character right here, K-Dad, got an absolute monster buff. Versus Yamato still showing her absolute worth in Super Boss and 10 stars. This Ashura Zoro. I think this Ashura Zoro is one of the better Anniversary exclusives. I do like the waifus more. And I'm going to drop him down into Amazing because of the power creep of the new Zoro as well. Unfortunately, it is what it is when it comes to this particular unit. Another Zoro replaces this Zoro, so that's the way it's going to be, little darling. This Yamato, Luffy, they're going to stay there because I do still think they're going to be the meta characters for Versailles alongside this Nami. Roger, the best Grand Voyage leader, like, by far. PvP, Free Spirit got an absolute boss, and in Treasure Map, he's still an absolute demon. Plus, in regular play and stuff like PKA, we saw how good he was, or is, and I definitely need to leave him up here in meta for most of the game. Ace Yamato, a lot of people don't like this unit because of their swap. Ace Sabo is fantastic in Grand Voyage, but this unit, great Grand Voyage option, great in PvP actually nowadays with the Free Spirit Rise, as well as still being a very, very good option for stuff like 10-star Kazunas, as well as Super Boss. They can do a lot of damage. On Treasure Map, they have the ability to remove Blind as well, and they can go through Resilience with their swaps, so that's definitely something that shouldn't be underestimated. So there's that as well. Very, very good character. But as for these characters up here, like Shanks nowadays probably could drop out of the meta tier. I think Super Tandem Shanks, whilst I love Super Tandem Shanks, has dropped off just a little bit against the Strength Super Boss. That's really the place that he shines. But nowadays, he has sort of lost some spark there because of the release of these new characters. Like, that's the big reason. No, not because he's bad or anything like that, but he's just become amazing at doing what they do. He's not the sort of meta option for it. And even this Sabo, like to be honest, has kind of fallen off a little bit as well. But we'll talk about why. But this Sabo has some utility where the Shanks kind of doesn't. So I think leading the tier like this is actually going to see the best option. I think we're going to bring Marco down into Niche because, like, you're really only using Marco if you're farming EXP. And Carrot's ability to go through defensive effects and stuff like that makes her quite good. But I don't think she's as good as what Neko and Inu provide. So we're going to bring her down as well. Actually, no, we're going to put her in super subs because, like, mainly I always use her as a sub. She's got a speed farming captain, but, like, that's the big reason that she shines. And everyone else here, I'm pretty happy with everyone else. I think everyone else is pretty good there. So, drum roll. The big dogs moving down into the Super Sugos of the anniversary. We'll touch on Big Mom last because, like, Big Mom. The first unit we got was Luffy Yamato and Oden Toki. Now, lots of people were up in arms about these two characters. Because, like, why would they pick them as the first anniversary exclusives and the first Super Sugo? Like, we weren't expecting that. The episode aired so long ago, and we were expecting these two characters, which eventually came in the structure of the film Red Sugo Fest, which to me was a blessing in disguise, but well, that's a topic for another video. Oden and Toki, first of all, on paper, seem like whatever. However, in Super Boss, they actually showed how good they can be. Remember, as a dual unit, they could either be a strength or they could be a quick unit. And the reason this character goes into meta for me is because of Zoro. Zoro has rainbow damage as a captain, and this is your color affinity booster for slashes. On top of that, K-Dad got an absolute monster buff thanks to slashes being very, very powerful. Brook was also a really good option because he was a slasher. He had rainbow damage, so that was a very, very high option as well. But with the release of Sanji being able to swap into the captain and being a fantastic captain, made these characters very, very good. Honestly, I'm so tempted to move these guys out, but I just want to see how like Kaido performs in a super boss before I actually start like making those big changes. But the meta does seem like it's shifting towards slashes. The slasher meta does seem incredibly powerful with Zoro, K-Dad, Odin, and Toki. And then you can bring some other sort of like strength slashes as well to sort of bolster what the team can actually do. So very, very interesting times for slashes. They are on the rise, but I am going to like leave the strikers here because they're very, very good still, just like Kaido. But they're very, very good. They're exceptionally powerful, and at the moment they're part of the meta because of Zoro. The color affinity boosting, the resistance they give, also the utility of despair and paralysis is nothing to scoff at as well. Moving on to the first Super Sugo of the anniversary, we have Luffy and Yamato. Now, a lot of people don't like Luffy and Yamato because of their wonkiness in switching. Luffy, if you kill something as Luffy, will give a Super Swap charge, and if you take damage as Yamato, you give a Super Swap charge as well, on top of just regularly switching with them. However, they do have the ability, as with their Super Switch, after 8 swaps, to go into their dual form, and they have the first ever buffed special if you are in their dual form. They're a 3.25 times Orb boost to Strength, Dex, and Quick for 2 turns. They also give a guaranteed 2 times additional damage through immunity. And with their Super Swap, they give 2.5 times Color Affinity to Free Spirits. Now, I understand putting all of that together is a lot of damage. Like, it's so goddamn, it's so much damage, but you need Strength, Dex, and Quick, and all of those units to be Free Spirit for this to actually work. I do understand the wonkiness behind it. However, you don't need it to work for all your units for this to be good. Like, you don't. You just don't. Like, you actually don't. And it's disgustingly scary to see how much damage this character can output just with themselves. Like, just with themselves. On top of that, they remove Blind as a captain. Their swap removes Despair, Paralysis, all those shenanigans. So essentially, as a captain, they can remove every debuff. Like, or Blind and Despair as the main two on themselves. And I think they do Slot Blind as well, which is actually really, really fun. So, they're just phenomenal. They're a phenomenal character, and I think people are overlooking the absolute power that this character has, on top of Super Boss giving you the full Super Swap. So when you get the full Super Swap, you don't have to worry about those shenanigans and the tapping and stuff. But once you get this unit down, and you understand the concept of how it works, this character is disgusting. Like, it's disgusting how much damage output you get just with this one unit. And the way that this character works alongside a friend captain, like the friend captain bring this unit with Nami and with Robin, like, it's bonkers. It's actually bonkers how much damage output like these 4 characters here can provide your team. It's just absurd. It's actually absurd. Color Affinity, Chain Boost, Base Stat, Conditional, Extra Conditional, Damage Reduction buff. On top of that, they do 80% damage reduction, which works exceptionally for versus Yamato. Like, it's wild. It's wild. Actually wild how much damage output you get with those 4 units. And for that reason, I'm sticking them in the top 5. They're very, very good. And I am going to bring Ace Yamato into Amazing. I think Ace Yamato, as an endgame player, definitely moves down into Amazing tier. They've kind of just dropped off quite a bit. But they're still very, very good, like I expressed earlier. Moving on to the next character now. The next Super Sugo we had was Sanji. Now, this character is cracked. I honestly think that Sanji could be the best legend in the game. Tied alongside Nami. And the reason that Sanji creeps into first position for me is because he has Rush mechanic. And obviously he's the only unit in the game with Rush, which makes him incredibly valuable. But that Rush ability is so goddamn broken. The difference between a level 3 Rush and a level 5 Rush in Super Boss, or sorry, in 10-star runs, was around 300 billion damage. 300 billion for 2 Rush levels. Like, it's mind-boggling how disgusting the rush ability actually is. On top of that, Sanji feeds his rush so beautifully into himself, being a chain boundary unit, a chain booster with his super class, and then you can use the Brook support for like chain multiplicative shenanigans. He can swap into your captain as well. As I was saying earlier, he makes this Brook now viable. He makes this K-Dad so much better because his K-Dad boosts free spirits. You can swap them out, and then you can do just stupid stuff with backhanded damage of slashes, which is what we were doing in 10 stars and super bosses, which is nuts. Sanji is probably, alongside Nami, the most valuable legend to have on your account. Like, the most valuable. This unit here, I do think, provides more damage output, but as a friend captain, if you have Verse Yamato, you just run Verse Yamato, and then you bring this guy as friend captain. With Sanji, you don't have that beauty. You have to have your own Sanji for this to work, and he's one of the most valuable characters. Just like Nami, on your own team. These characters are so good. Nami has the best super tandem in the game, and then obviously Sanji has the best rush ability game. They do similar stuff because Sanji's a base stat booster as well. Nami's a base stat booster. Nami's a chain booster. Sanji's a chain booster. But it doesn't matter. You can still run these two on the same team and get so much disgusting output with the two of them. Swapping Sanji into captain, he's a 5.75 times captain. He gives a full body recovery orbs, which Zoro can turn into Wano orbs a little bit later. So for me, like, he's the top. He does struggle in treasure map a little bit. He's not exactly the fastest character. His special does take like 4 years to use. But that captain swap mechanic can be very, very valuable, especially if you get Captain Blowaway, if you get shenanigans with Captain Swap in general, because if you just run a friend Captain Sanji and you get Captain Swapped, his super class actually disables the Captain Swap as well. So, fantastic unit, an amazingly well-designed unit. Like, he just synergizes so well with himself. And any team you put this guy on, he brings so much value to, especially in big damage teams. But on top of that, he removes defense up and damage reduction by 7 turns. So this man's got utility as well. Just like Nami. He got utility. It's crazy. It's actually crazy. So, Sanji for me, they're like this. Obviously, this was Sanji's month. So, like, that's why Sanji's being shown so well. But I can just see Sanji aging so beautifully, like goddamn fine wine. Just like Nami did for the first sort of 6 months of her release. So, I'm going to put him right here. There. We have a new king alongside his queen as top 1 best units in the game, being Nami and Sanji. Finally, the final unit to come was Zolo. He is like a samurai, only better, like, to be honest. I was not crash hot on this character when I first read his kit. I thought he was very intricate and he was a lot of fun. Yes, the captain action is back, baby! And it's better than ever because it was just like the gear charges, but you needed to collect Wano orbs, which seemed very difficult to do. However, he generates Wano orbs as long as you hit with super effective types in his Enma state, which does a 15% HP cut, and then you need to go into Enma Unleash, you need 10 Wano orbs, go into this form, and Zoro becomes a monster. He's super effective against all types. If you have a Wano or a Tandem orb, he gives a guaranteed 1.5 times condition of extra damage. He's a 2.25 conditional boost, a 3.25 times attack, which is insane. On top of that, just like these characters here, they all give 3 turns of cooldown. 2 to Strength, Dex, and Quick, and then 1 extra to Free Spirit Fighters, Free Spirit Slashers, and Free Spirits Fighters, Strikers, and Free Spirit. So, the cooldowns you get are nuts with these 3 units, and they all work exceptionally well together. Once you get Zoro into his Enma state, it's curtains. It's actual curtains, because rainbow damage is one of the most broken abilities in the entire game. We've seen how well bullets age, and that's what's going to make Zoro so damn good. I'm going to put him equal second, technically, with Luffy Yamato. Luffy Yamato, I think, is just a better well-rounded unit in terms of the damage output, but both of them suffer from the wonkiness of the unit needing Wano orbs and needing those shenanigans. Doesn't make them bad, just makes them wonky to use. But once you get them going, they do insane numbers. We saw the biggest numbers we've ever seen in Super Boss ever. Like, the biggest numbers ever. Doing 1 trillion damage, 1 tapping a max HP boss with the combination of these 3 units, which was nuts. This Zoro was there. This Verse Yamato was there. It was actually insane. It was mind-bogglingly insane. This Robin, obviously being an absolute meta god on every single bloody Super Boss and 10-star team. These 3 units were just insane. Like, actually insane. I do think Nami holds the edge because her Super Tandem is a little bit better. They did everything in their power with the Intimidation debuff to just absolutely cuck Nami because they knew she was a mistake. They had to bring in artificial difficulty to make Nami worse, where these characters don't have that same problem because they're 2-turn boosters, right? So that makes them very, very good. However, this was the month they were meant to shine, and it is anniversary season. So for that reason, I am going to put them a little bit behind Nami. All these characters work exceptionally well together, by the way. But if you're using Zoro at Super 10 and 5, you don't really need Nami, per se. However, you don't have to bring Zoro to make the team shine because you have Verse Yamato as well. So, you have options when it comes to the Free Spirit team. I've said it in the past, I've said it again. The Free Spirit team is by far the best class in the game. It's not even close now. And the amount of damage output, the speed you have of these characters for speed farming stuff like Treasure Map. Zoro's a wave clearer too, which is insane, like actually insane. The amount of cooldowns you get, the utility you get, it's just mind-boggling what these characters are going to accomplish in the future. But as you can see, we have a bunch of characters in the top 5 now, and we have to move some out, unfortunately. Unfortunately, we have to move some out. And characters that I'm going to move out is the Utas. I do think the Utas are very, very good. They're still part of the meta, but with these new characters, they have dropped off quite drastically, to be honest. Like, quite drastically. And I'm going to bring, obviously, the Straw Hat crew out. Straw Hat crew is definitely still part of the meta with this particular team. Like, it was the final piece to this, which was so funny to see. We had the Beast Pirates and then Straw Hat crew. It was just so funny. But for that reason, like, you have more Straw Hats, they're going to power creep the Straw Hats, unfortunately. Like, it's just the way it... It's the way it is. It's just the way it is. As for Luffy and Kaido, they have dropped out. Unfortunately, both of them, I'm going to leave them on the same field. I do think they're both very, very good. But with Luffy Yamato basically replacing this character and then the Super 10 of these two being better than this, this unit has just sort of outshone what this character can do. And now with this Beast Pirate team coming up, it just seems like that these units are going to be the go forward. That doesn't mean this Kaido's bad. Remember, this Zoro has the same abilities of what this Kaido can do, but he does rainbow damage. So in theory, you could just run Zoro with this unit and then just bink bosses like that. That's definitely something that we're going to see, but I don't want to like discredit what Kaido brings to the table and how good Kaido actually is still. However, we do need a top 5 best unit in the game, and this top 5 unit is going to be an absolute struggle for me, but I'm going to bring Alba up. I think Alba and the way Alba's designed is so freaking fantastic that Alba makes this particular team what it is because of his captain ability, because of his special. He's got great utility. He can completely avoid particular shenanigans. Downside is he just doesn't shine too well. Well, he does shine actually in Treasure Map. He's just going to avoid those like annoying shenanigans on your captain all of the time. He gives cooldowns on the crew as well, like so he can be better for speed farming as long as you guys see some play there. But as for my top 5, I do think Alba's sort of moved up into this particular team. As for like this argument though, like you could easily say this if you prioritize Super Boss Kazuna more. You could easily say this for stuff like Treasure Map, for Super Boss Kazuna, for 10 stars Kazunas, with Zoro being so good. Honestly, like I kind of want to do that. I actually do. Like Alba makes an argument for top 5. I think like these two still make arguments for top 5. I still think Yamato makes an argument for top 5 with the amount of damage output that she provides the team. Also, her despair removal is very, very good. But actually, I really think K-Dad. I think K-Dad is going to move into the top 5 for me because they're about to get PvP buffs as well, which is going to go absolutely crazy. So they're very, very good in PvP. They're great in Treasure Map, like exceptional in Treasure Map. They give cooldowns like crazy, and they're a wave clearer. On top of being utility, and in Super Boss and 10 star, they do so much damage thanks to this particular Zoro as well. So there we go. We have a whole new top 5. The meta has completely shifted. And then the amazing characters have drastically changed as well, with a bunch of new tiers down here as well. But let me know your thoughts and opinions if you are an endgame player. Do you agree with stuff? Do you like the new tiers? Do you disagree with stuff? Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section below. Oh, hang on. We forgot something. Oh. Yeah. You're never going to use this bit. You're never going to... What were they thinking? But that's going to wrap up the video. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you did, make sure to belt the like button, hit the subscribe button, do all that good stuff for me. I hope you guys are enjoying Anniversary. Best of luck in summons if you're still summoning. Like I said, leave a comment down below of what you guys think is the best unit in the game. I do want to know your best unit. Followed by the green heart emoji. I want to see your favorite unit or your best unit in the game, followed by the green heart emoji if you got this far in the video. But most importantly, wherever you guys are in this beautiful world, please remember to enjoy the rest of your day. As always, homies, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one.